In light of the political parties taking a swipe at Zimbabweans, for example, working here in the country, we focus on African South-South migration to hostile environments. The migration of Africans to Europe has also generated many headlines recently. Let's speak to Tembisa Fakude, who is a senior research fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogue. A very good evening to you, Mr. Fakude. Thanks indeed for your time. So, look, recent developments here in South Africa on the issue of foreign nationals. Why does it always seem to come about round about this time in January?
Well, it's unfortunate, isn't it? January, we all know that is a very difficult month for many people. But we also must not look at this in isolation. It's a trend that has emerged across the world. If you look, there's been an emergence of right-wing movement and nationalist movement. And because of the economic strain, mainly because of the COVID-19, we are seeing many countries, not only in Africa, even in Europe, embracing a new attitude towards the foreigner. So South Africa is not the only one in this regard. However, it's important to say that South Africans have responded quite differently to most of the world when it comes to issues of xenophobia and nationalism. It is South African also who are addressing or pushing back the adverse response or actions by certain political parties who want to encourage xenophobia and ultra-nationalism in this country. So there is that response, strong democratic shock absorbers, which have always responded positively to socio-political challenges in this country.
And I'll talk a bit later on about the ramifications of that on the continent and the international community. But here in South Africa, different political parties, have taken different approaches on this. The EFF, the Patriotic Alliance, Action SA here in South Africa. Government seemingly silent. In your view, is this the best way of dealing with this?
It's not. And it's quite disappointing that the 1%ers are often referred to these minority political parties in this country are actually dictating a political agenda. One would have expected that an issue of such sensitive nature would have triggered a response from the president and the president himself, because the foreign direct investment thrives in a stable environment. And this is likely to impact on that. So we continue having these 1%ers, political parties dictating a political agenda. And I'm not quite sure whether it's the right thing to do. I think the government, particularly the police, must stand firm in ensuring that these actions of these 1%ers do not culminate into violence and indeed expelling some of the businesses which are owned by foreign nationals.
Which we've seen happen in the past. How do you then ensure that this doesn't translate to xenophobia? Because you may have people who may not understand the different messages that are coming from these various political parties.
Well, we need a monitoring system from the government, particularly the police, to ensure that these organizations that go around seeking justifications and reasoning behind businesses why they employ certain people, they are guarded, and there is some sort of mechanisms in place to ensure that this is not encouraged, because it could lead to lawlessness. The messaging that's been sent, particularly by individuals such as the Gayton McKenzie and Julius Malema, is extremely dangerous in a country like South Africa, because it's unfiltered. And most of it's on 6 minutes report from television. So we're not quite sure yet how the normal people on the streets have received this messaging. We only pray, of course, that it does not culminate into violence that we've seen over the past directed at foreign nationals in this country.
Handled differently in other parts of the world, as you've alluded to at the beginning of our discussion. How does this affect South Africa's standing on the continent or view as well in the international community?
Well, as it stands in Africa, we don't enjoy a very good image when it comes to hospitality towards those who come from different countries into this country. The saddest part, of course, is that the attitude towards those coming from across the Atlantic is different. So in Africa, we are already having a problem with countries looking at us and seeing us as xenophobic. And you see the reception when you go visit these countries is not the same as it was before. However, suffice to say that it's not a South African problem. I mean, the very essence of Brexit was about living Europeans. So you have white people in Britain not wanting to live side by side with the Polish, for example. Hence, Brexit. We've seen the emergence of ultra-nationalism in other countries, particularly in Paris, where there's been a continual protest from some ultra-nationalists who are also anti-foreigners. So it's an international phenomenon which is triggered by and large by the economic downturn that we've seen as a result of COVID-19.
Tembisa Fakude, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme. Senior Research Fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogue. We appreciate your time here on the programme.